It's like, why do you want these photos to begin with? Kind of laying that out, um, and kind of having an understanding of like what you want people to feel whenever they see these photos. So there's 3 different pillars right there that you can talk on and create content for.
Hey there, and welcome to Business Creative Real Estate Edition. I'm Andrea, and here we're all about helping you design a real estate business that's as unique as you are. Whether you're an agent ready to break free from the mold or someone looking to streamline and scale, this is the place for you. Every week, we'll dive into practical strategies for building your personal brand, creating systems that work for you, and embracing the tools that make it all happen, so you can stop working in your business and start building the one you've always dreamed of. Let's get creative and make real estate work on your terms. Hey there, and welcome back to Business Creative Real Estate Edition. I'm your host, Andrea, and today's episode is something truly special. I have a guest on the show who's not only incredibly talented, but also near and dear to my heart. Cheyenne Underwood is a photographer who has built an incredible business from the ground up, turning her passion for photography into an empire. People literally travel from all over the country to work with her, and she's now helping other entrepreneurs do the same by doing branding photography and creating courses to help business owners grow their personal brand and elevate their social media. Cheyenne has a unique gift for showing entrepreneurs how to use branding to elevate their business, and I've had the privilege of watching her journey firsthand. Today, she's here to share her expertise with you, specifically how realtors can prepare for a branding session and how to use those photos to get an ROI. So whether you're thinking about booking your first branding session or want to take your social media presence to the next level, this episode is packed with actionable tips to help you grow your business. Let's dive in. Cheyenne, first of all, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited about this. I know we have talked about this in the past, like how you were like, I want you to be on my podcast when I get started, and I can't believe you're like here. You're doing incredible.
Thank you. I'm so excited about it and so happy that you're here with me. And so let's start with the basics. For a realtor who's never done a branding session before, what advice would you give to help them prepare?
I would say preparation is definitely key. You definitely want to like clarify like what your mission is for your branding photos. Like, why do you want these photos to begin with? Obviously, showing personal brand and everything is very important, but like, what will you be using these for? So kind of laying that out, and kind of having an understanding of like what you want people to feel whenever they see these photos. So, if you're a realtor who wants to build a brand based off of building trust and having, a community of like family, then obviously you want to showcase that into your photos in some way. So definitely, having an understanding of what like their ideal clients are and how they want to be portrayed in their photos, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. Is there anything that a realtor should bring to their session?
As far as like props and things like that
Yeah,
go,
like what type of outfits, what type of props do you recommend they do a studio or specific locations?
I think that really just depends on, again, what message are they trying to relay into their branding. So if you're looking to create more of like an edgy type of branding session to where you're showcasing a more of like an edgy and less professional, then maybe do it in a studio. If you're looking to showcase yourself as more of like family oriented and you want to kind of really bring out that like comforting side, maybe do it in a show house. And then of course, when it comes to like props and things like that, again, going back to preparation, like having an understanding of, okay, I know that I want to showcase that I'm always on my computer because that's how I'm sending you contracts and like, doing the wheeling and dealing. And so bring your laptop with you. I know when we did your branding photos, you brought your favorite drink. I thought that was really cool because you were like, I'm going to bring this and showcase this into my branding photos because that's something I always have with me. So now every single time that somebody sees you with that drink and they see it in your branding photos, like they can, connect the two, and then they go to the store and they're going to think of you. So it's all about, creating basically a message when it comes to the visualization of your branding. You want to be like, okay, an example, I'm a realtor who always has my dog with me.
Mm-hmm.
Take photos with your dog, things like that. So laying out exactly what you want to showcase as far as how you want to be portrayed in your brand, those are the things that you need to think about before you create like a plan for your session, so that way you know exactly what props to bring along with you.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice for realtors as to kind of how to figure those things out as far as narrowing down their ICA or figuring out their brand pillars?
Yeah, so when it comes to having an understanding of like who your ideal client is,
Mm-hmm.
I think it really comes down to understanding what your mission is with your brand. So if you're somebody that wants to attract a more high-end luxury clientele, you need to understand who that clientele is. And you
Mm-hmm.
need to understand things like, okay, I know that if I'm wanting to sell a $1 million home, I need to understand who's going to live in that $1 million home, who's going to buy that $1 million home. So to be able to do that, you need to think about, okay, where do they work? What cars are they driving? Where do they live? Are they married? Do they have kids? Things like that. So understanding those things in your ideal client is like first and foremost the most important part when it comes to branding, I think, because that is how you're going to relate everything else into your brand mission. So if you have an idea of who your ideal client is, then you're going to be able to map out the rest of what your brand mission is going to be as far as like content, your branding photos, everything else in between. So,
Mm-hmm. I have watched you build your social media from basically nothing to this incredible influencer empire that you have. I know you're making these courses that, you're going to be focusing on mostly photographers, teaching them to build their businesses. Are you also going to have courses that like a realtor could go take that would teach them how to do these things and how to grow their social media?
it's actually funny that you say that, because when I first started doing this and creating these courses and everything, I thought I was going to stick with just photographers.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously I'm in the photography world. I know all the ins and outs of marketing with photography, how to build a brand with photography, everything in between. But as I started doing this, I've had so many different people reach out to me and be like, how do I do this for my brand? How do I grow this for my brand? I want to relay my branding mission this way. How do I do it? So it made me realize that there really is a gap in really understanding branding and how it can, affect obviously not just photographers, but how it can be portrayed to all business owners, especially small business owners. There's a huge gap there, and we're sitting here and we're wearing all the hats and doing all the things by ourselves, and we're like, we think we're supposed to just put out our services and our what we have to offer, and then we forget and neglect, like, oh wait, we have to start with the basics. We have to go back and figure out, okay, what is my brand about? Why am I even doing this to begin with? And how can I relay my values and everything into my branding so my target audience can find me? And so after I've been talking with a lot of different business owners, and I've realized I don't want to just serve photographers. I want to do it all for everybody. Maybe that's just the entrepreneur in me, but I've actually shifted, and it's going to be for every small entrepreneur, really.
I am so happy to hear that. I know anytime I've had questions about social media, you're my go-to person, because I know you've seemed like you have it all figured out whenever it comes to social media. Your courses would definitely be worth taking.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Social media is a beast. It's something that, like, a lot of people, especially, creative entrepreneurs, or honestly just anybody that is in business, we think that social media is just it's a task. It's another thing on our business list that we have to take care of. But if people can really understand how relaying your brand into social media, how beneficial that is for their brand as a whole, and they get a grasp on that and have a good strategy with that, their brand is going to take off. And that's something that I learned very quickly when I literally almost lost everything. I was so close to having to completely hang up being a photographer, and I was terrified because I just moved to a new state,
Mm-hmm.
and the pandemic happened, and I found out I'm pregnant, and I'm like, oh gosh, what am I gonna do? Luckily, my husband was working at the fire department at the time, so we had a little bit of a cushion, but here I am about to lose everything that I had built. And I relied on posting just a silly picture on social media showcasing my art, and that was it. I didn't have a solidified brand at that time. So I was facing the fact that I was about to lose everything. At that point, we were so dependent on social media and social media presence because that's literally all we had to connect with society because we were shut down. We were just there. So I leaned into that. I was like, you know what? I have two options. I can choose to lose it all or I can pivot.
Mm-hmm.
And I pivot. And when I did that, and I really focused on what it was that I wanted to put out there for people to see and to be able to see like my brand and my mission and what I wanted to relay, that allowed me to grow a personal brand on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And it was incredible to see the shift and how much it took my business from one level to another just so quickly. So it took me from literally about to lose everything to get there, but
Yeah.
um, that's why it's so important to relay that message to other entrepreneurs that, social media branding is so important. So,
No, it definitely is, and no, I'm still learning a lot with it and trying to figure out all the technology and everything. Because I'm sure, as you know, it feels like a full-time job just trying to do social media. And of course, we have all these other things that we're running. I mean, I've got like 3 different businesses I'm developing right now: wedding planning,
girl, I don't know
all of
how you
these
do it
things.
all.
It's a lot, but I love it. This is what lights me up, and I love doing it. And
I get
another
that.
thing, well, thanks. Another thing I was wanting to ask you about, what technology would you recommend for really any business owner to use to manage their social media to kind of streamline it so that it doesn't feel as much like a full-time job?
So I actually love this question because there isn't one tech deck or a solid platform that you can go to be like, okay, I'm going to streamline everything on here and it's just going to be super easy. Like, it's not as simple as that, but it also doesn't have to be super difficult either. When
Mm-hmm.
it comes to having a social media strategy or just even a social media presence, it's honestly not as hard to plan it, batch it, and get it created like as people think. So from somebody that's starting from the beginning, I would say start small. Create a list of ideas and things that you want to relay as far as content goes. So, obviously, understanding what content pillars are and like what topics you want to talk on. Start there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you know you're a realtor who wants to give tips and tricks to buying a home, and you want to also relay that you're a busy mom who is, also a business owner, and you want to relay messages about the different houses that you have to offer. There's 3 different pillars right there that you can talk on and create content for. I have an inspirational folder where I literally save videos of from other creators that I find inspiring that I want to make into my own. So if I'm ever like stuck and I'm like, oh, how do I want to relay this topic out? I go to my inspiration and I figure out how I can relay it into the inspiration of the creators that I save, and then I create my own video off of that. So, doing that, and then of course batch creating content is also something that can feel a lot less daunting when it comes to having a what we call a content bank. So having a folder in your phone of pre-recorded content, whether that's just small B-roll videos of you working at your computer or walking,
Mm-hmm.
drinking coffee, things like that. So creating a bunch of videos like that so you can take those videos and make content from it. And you can repurpose those, you don't have to use it for that one post and then it dies forever.
Yeah.
You can use it for the next post in 2 to 3 weeks. So having a content bank is super, super important. I have like 2 content banks, and one is like longer form, one shorter form. And when I tell you it's ridiculous, I probably don't have to create content for the next like 5 years. It's so so much. But it's just like I go in, I'm like, oh, here I am making a coffee. I'm gonna record myself real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Literally just put my phone up and then I record it and then there it is. It's there and I can repurpose it however many times I want. So it's something as simple as that. It's being able to create a content bank, inspiration, and understanding what topics you want to talk on. Start there, and if you can do that, you'll be good.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for all the advice with that. I'm definitely trying to get more comfortable with the B-roll and being on camera. That was always one of the hardest things for me, and I hear that all the time that people don't want to be on camera. It's uncomfortable. So I've been trying to make sure when I'm talking to people, I'm sending them snaps on Snapchat and trying to go out of my way to do things on video and trying to remember, this is something I can record and use as B-roll. But how would you recommend somebody get comfortable?
Yeah, it's definitely intimidating at first. I remember when I first started making content, how cringy I felt. But
Yes.
um, it's definitely like something you have to get used to. One, hearing your voice. That's something that still to this day I'm like, ooh. But hearing your voice, seeing yourself on camera, it's something that takes a little bit of getting used to, but just know that anything that you're going to do, whether that's recording yourself on camera or shooting a basketball for the first time or selling your first home, showing your first home, it's going to take practice. You're not going to get it right the first time. There's going to be growing pains with it, but the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, the more comfortable you're going to feel, and it will like evolve. So I remember like the first video. I will forever remember this video that I created. It was like I was doing like a lip singing video. That's when TikTok was like super big on like
Yeah.
lip singing and dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like me like wrapped in the sheet and I was like dancing. And now like you probably wouldn't catch me doing that, but it's thinking about that now. I'm like, God, I'm so proud of her because that right there, that video is what started it all. And I know in that moment, I was like, I remember it took me like 3 days to post that video because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
what do people think I look weird? Like, this is just so cringy, blah, blah, blah. But when I posted it, people loved it.
Yeah.
They weren't looking at it the way I was. And if I ever got any flack from it, it didn't matter because I had so much support. And then on top of that, I was literally attracting my ideal clients.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter because I had money in my bank account at that time. So who cares? So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would say if you're struggling with the confidence part of it, just know it's going to feel uncomfortable for a little bit, but it won't always.
Mm-hmm.
Just push yourself to do it anyway.
Definitely. Even my first podcast episode, whenever I listen to it again, I know I'm the type of person to talk fast, so I was trying to be so mindful of not talking fast in that episode. I'm talking way too slow. It's terrible.
I didn't think
But I
so
just
when I
put it out
listened to
there.
it.
Yeah,
I thought
so
it was great.
definitely all of it just getting more comfortable over time.
Yes, yes, it definitely takes some getting used to for sure. But then eventually it becomes second nature. Like you get so used to it and
Mhm.
you're just like, oh, this is a great content idea. I'm just going to jump on the camera and do it. And then you don't even realize how easy it became. It's
Yeah,
just, it's just something you do. So,
definitely. I know I brought you here mostly to talk about branding photos and getting an ROI on those, and now I've just been asking you all the social media questions.
no, that's what I'm here for. I literally could talk about this all day long. So,
I know you're so talented with all of this stuff, and I know you have the experience to answer these questions. Let's kind of go back to branding photography a little bit. So photography, it's such a personal thing, and again, like the ICA thing that we've talked about, you have to know your ideal client. Not everybody's going to want to work with you, kind of thing, and it's finding that partnership for the right person is important. So, what should a realtor look for when choosing the right branding photographer for their needs? And are there any red flags to watch for?
I definitely would say when it comes to branding, it is really, really important, especially a branding photographer, to find the photographer that is going to be able to relay like what your brand mission and like your brand voice is. So if you are a realtor who goes and hires just a wedding photographer
Mm-hmm.
for their branding photos, there's obviously going to be a gap there. You really want to find somebody that niches in branding photography or has a really good idea of how to relay branding into photos. So, because I mean, anybody can pick up a camera and
Mm-hmm.
take photos of you with your laptop and you're smiling.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes somebody to be able to really understand, okay, I know that this person is very fun and bubbly and I want to showcase that into their photos. So I'm going to tell them to walk this way and, move their shoulders this way. And those things matter when it comes to finding a photographer that can really understand like who your brand is and how they can relay that into the photos. So I would definitely, whenever you're searching for someone, ask for, their previous work in branding. See those photos and see if you can find the brand that they worked with and see how that relayed into their branding photos, if that makes sense. So say if they worked with another realtor and you go and look up the realtor and they're this like fun bubbly person, but their branding photos are just headshots, like that, there's a gap there. They missed an opportunity for great branding when
Mm-hmm.
it came to creating that. So definitely do your research on your photographers and then obviously, make sure that their style is what you like. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I have a very different style than a lot of photographers. I'm very dark and moody and I have a lot of attitude in my photos. Where one of my really good friends, she's also another branding photographer, but she's very bright and airy. She's somebody that I would definitely hire if I needed to relay a good LinkedIn profile and things like that, clean and pretty. That's what she specializes in. So
Yeah.
we're very different. We do very different things and we work with very different brands. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see how there's some people that'll come to me and I'm like, hey, what you're looking for is exactly what she can provide you. And then vice versa. So
That's awesome. I love that you guys work together like that and support each other.
yes, yes, it's not always like that in the photography community sometimes, but it is nice whenever I do find other photographers who are on the same wavelength there.
Yeah, no, I tell realtors all the time. If it's a client comes to you, all you've ever done is residential, and they're asking for something commercial, don't just say, yes, I can do it, and try doing it. Either refer it or find another agent to partner with that you can do it with and learn. And
Right,
so many people want to just try saying they can do it all, and then you end up with unhappy clients.
right. No, exactly. We just bought our second house, this year, and it was crazy what we went through. You guys have a hard job. I'm very thankful for realtors because you don't really think about how much work goes into being able to pick the perfect home for a family. And I was very lucky that we had a great realtor here
Mhm.
that was able to actually take care of us and not just like settle us into one home. Like I remember there was a house we were looking at and I was like, we could definitely say yes to this house. And she was like, I really think you should think about this. Like,
Mhm.
she wasn't pushing me to make a decision to just buy the house that, you know, I could have said yes to then. And I'm thankful for that because it took a little bit of time, but the right house came along and it was because, she really understood what we were looking for and
Mhm.
that was so important when it came to finding the right realtor. And I would say as a realtor looking for a photographer to do the same thing,
Mhm.
so important.
So, as far as red flags go when looking for a photographer, one thing I tend to tell anybody I know looking for branding photos is, how are they getting to know you? That's always a big thing to me, is the photographer trying to get to know you and your brand to understand how to do the shoot. Are there any other red flags that you can think of as far as if somebody's trying to interview photographers?
I would definitely, that is like a number one red flag for sure. If you book a branding photographer or somebody to do your branding photos and they're not asking you core questions like, what is your brand mission? What is something that is important to you to showcase in this photo shoot? What are your brand colors? Those things are really important to know when it comes to prepping for a branding session. So if your photographers aren't asking those questions,
Mm-hmm.
definitely that's a red flag. So I would say obviously if they're leaving it up to you,
Mm-hmm.
red flag.
Yeah.
Don't let them leave it up to you. The one thing that I did love about you was you had an idea on outfits, and we had lots of outfits. And I love that though because you knew exactly going into it. Like I know I have 3 different businesses that I need to showcase. So I need this color for this outfit, this color, luckily you and I work so well together. We know each other so well. So it was very easy for us to do that. But as somebody that's going into working with a complete stranger with branding photos, if you don't have a plan in place, or if you don't send them inspiration and they're just going into this blindly, I would be concerned about that.
Yeah, no, you had me make a Pinterest board and send it to you with all the different styles of photographs that I like. And you asked me all the questions up front, and I felt very confident going into it. I mean, like you said, we are very comfortable with each other and we've worked together a lot. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit different and easier for me to work with you than probably some people or somebody just meeting you. But
I
like I
found that it's, I've noticed, I've actually worked with a few different realtors here lately, especially with branding photography, and every single one of them has been different. The branding session has been very, very different. I did one in a show house, and that was a lot of fun. Actually, I did 2 in a show house, and then another one was just like kind of in the streets of downtown area, and then yours was in the studio. So every single session is different because every brand is different, and it's so interesting how even though they're all so different, we've been able to really pinpoint what it is that we need to showcase in their session, and it's been so much fun. To be able to watch every single brand evolve within the photos is just really cool to see. And then what they do with that is like so fun to watch. Like watching you take your photos and put it into your podcast and put it into announcing your new brand and put it into announcing your other new brand. It's like it's so cool to watch it all happen. So
Yeah, and trying to bring a confetti cannon, it turns out to be pacifiers because we needed a blue confetti cannon.
it's funny as
Never knew.
I was taking photos the other day and I was literally laying on the ground and I was like trying to get the shot and I look up and in the light there's like pacifiers. I was like, oh my gosh, there's some more confetti up here.
That is so funny.
Hilarious.
That's
I'll
gonna be
never
hard to
forget
get on
that.
there.
I wish I would have kept it. I should have kept them in the photos.
No, it was absolutely hilarious.
But,
Yeah, no, I absolutely love all the branding photos that I took with you. They're phenomenal, and it's been so perfect using them in all of my marketing. So I definitely have been making a shift in how I'm trying to market.
yeah, it's really awesome what it does for your brand. Like I did a branding session for myself. I had a girl do mine and I'm still like this was like months ago, but I'm still using the photos every single day.
Yeah.
Like and they really do
Mm.
come in handy for so many different things. And it's nice to put a face to the brand. And whenever it comes to personal branding, that is so, so important because, people buy from people. They don't buy from services or things. So if they don't know who they're working with, then they're not going to feel comfortable and trust. And I feel like, especially in real estate, that is so important. These people are trusting you to help them find a home. And
Yeah.
a lot of times that's a forever home. So
It's the biggest investment that most people make. It's a big deal.
it's a huge deal.
I definitely have found, branding photos have been the best investment in my business.
Oh, yeah.
Headshots aren't a thing anymore. It's out. Real estate has completely evolved over the last couple of years, especially with social media marketing. Open houses are not nearly as effective as they used to be. Everything's changing. There have been lawsuits for cold emailing. Nothing works how it used to, and I feel like the most efficient thing that agents can do is have a branding session and work on their social media. So once an agent has their branding photos done, do you have any recommendations to how they can maximize their impact and make sure the photos truly work for their business?
Yeah, I would definitely use those photos literally for everything from, whenever you're creating your brochures, having your face on those brochures to hand out to your clients, from that to your business cards to, being the face of your social media. It's all so important. So literally, like you said, the best form of marketing right now is social media. So when you are posting photos that are relaying who you are in your brand, you are building trust with your clients. So you were showing them, hey, I'm somebody that is trustworthy. This is my face. Get used to it because you're going to see a lot of it. And keep using those photos. It's okay if it's repetitive because guess what? I think this statistic is it takes them seeing your face 7 to 10 times before they build trust enough to reach out to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be able to get in front of these people's faces as many times as you can. And the best way to do that is social media. So using those photos for literally your email sign off, using those for creating your brochures and your flyers, having them for whatever you're sending them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you're not only are you showing your face, but you're also building a repetitive brand that is very recognizable. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's super important too because, you know, your brand versus my brand are very different. And you want to be able to know that if you had a piece of paper that had all of your brand colors and the way you spoke on it, but it didn't have your name on it, like people would still recognize that and know that that's Andrea. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like that's so important.
Mm-hmm. What's your best advice for realtors who are trying to build their presence and connect with their audience online?
I would say definitely be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to like show up and be like super proper and perfect all the time. Like people want to feel related to you. You know, they want you to seem relatable and humanized.
Mm-hmm.
So showcasing the not so pretty things all the time is really important. I mean, obviously, like, you know, post the houses that you're selling, things like that, but also post the process of how you got to that point of selling the house. Do some behind the scenes. Um, Showcase what you're eating for the day. Like people really do care about that kind of stuff. And it sounds super silly, but
Mm-hmm.
when you become less proper and more humanized, you are already setting yourself up for a much better ROI, if you will. You know, it's a return of investment of your time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are putting that out there and building a trust with your community and your clientele and showing, hey, you know, this is who I am and this is what I have to offer you, you're going to have a much better return as far as like attracting your ideal clients and bringing people in a little bit better and really being able to build a connection and a community that is much more than just, hey, I'm going to sell your house for you, I'm going to help you buy a home. Like there, it's so much deeper than that. Now they have a trust in you. And so I would say when it comes to literally everything you do, when it comes to your branding, humanize it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be like my best advice when it comes to branding is humanize your brand and make it known that you're just as normal as they are.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it gets super intimidating too. When it comes to, you know, any brand that you can really think of, let's this is the biggest brand I can think of right now, but Kylie Jenner, for example, you know, she's a massive personal brand
Mm-hmm.
and she sells makeup and she sells it by making videos of her putting it on social media. She humanized it. She made it relatable because she's sitting here showing you, "Hey, I'm a mom and I'm getting ready in the mirror
Mm-hmm.
and I'm using this brand that I'm selling, but I'm also human and I'm probably going to mess it up when I'm putting it on and I'm probably going to drop it. My daughter's probably going to interrupt me, but here I am, I'm human." Those things are so important and that's why she's so successful because she's humanized that brand plus and she, you know, she's a Jenner, but whatever.
I definitely love that advice. Something I struggle with is, trying to relate to people in ways beyond business because for me, I am naturally such an introvert. I have a hard time connecting with people. I always have, except when it comes to business because it lights me up. I get excited. I can go in a room and talk business all day.
And I love it. I love it because like you and I could just sit here and just do this all day long. I'm like,
Yes.
we've already been doing this for like 45 minutes and I want to just keep doing it forever.
I love it. But like that's the easiest way for me to connect with someone and communicate with somebody
I
is
get
through
that.
business. And so I've been trying really hard to be more intentional on social media of being more personal and like actually telling stories with my captions and of what I'm doing with my daughter instead of just posting the picture with a heart, because I've never really been one to say a lot unless it's business.
Yeah, and it's hard to kind of peel away that professionalism because you think we kind of grew up in a society where if you ran a business, you had to be super professional and know what the heck you're doing. But we are millennials, right? We're
Mhm.
the ones that are kind of making the world work right now. And I'm sitting here like,
Mhm.
I'm supposed to be the one that knows a lot about this stuff? What do you mean? Like, who put the trust in me right now? But
Yeah.
truthfully, I also think that we have reshaped what it means to market.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, door-to-door marketing is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Even just doing open houses. Like,
Yeah.
people really don't show up for those
Well,
anymore.
I host open houses if my clients want open houses,
Right.
and 90% of the time, not a single person walks in, no matter how well I market it. Whereas before the pandemic, it would be packed the entire time. But then the pandemic happened, and now everybody just wants virtual tours. Or our generation is definitely going to work with a professional. They're not going to try to do it themselves. We believe in hiring people to do what their expertise is, not trying to wear all the hats ourselves. So most people have a realtor that they're working with that is going to make an appointment and show them the house. They're not going to show up to an open house. But now that things have changed a little bit and we do have the buyer broker agreements, I have seen a bit of an uptick in open houses of people going that don't want to pay a realtor because they don't understand how everything works. Nobody does. A lot of realtors don't even understand how it works now. It's
Right.
been very messy with the whole process. So right now there is a little bit more participation in open houses, but it still has to be marketed well for people to actually show up. It has to be a very quality listing in a very in-demand area. Otherwise, people just aren't showing up. They want to see it
Right.
online and then they want to have somebody bring them to see it.
Right. Yeah. That's why it's so important to have that presence because, I mean, even if you are doing an open house, where are people going to find out about this? It's
Hmm.
typically they're not going to drive by.
No.
They don't know the house is there.
Yeah.
So it's super important to have that presence on there, even if you're doing something as simple as an open house or you're hosting an event. And, that also leads into like so many different other forms of marketing. But when it comes to like the core of marketing, I think that having that personal brand relayed in social media is like the start of it all to be
Hmm.
able to capture. One thing that I've been saying a lot is, especially on Instagram, they call it reels. And I
Hmm.
like to use that to my advantage because, the whole point of social media marketing is to reel in your ideal client, right?
Yeah.
So using
Hmm.
that reel as bait. So that's the bait that you want to get your ideal client. So social media should always be as a bait, always be looked at as a bait. So once you get your ideal clients in your inbox and you're in your door and inquiring with you and showing houses, like then you got them tracked into your marketing funnels. So
Yeah.
it's all encompassed when it comes to marketing as a whole. But I think that having a strong personal brand through social media is where it starts.
Yeah. So one thing that's a little bit different for realtors, and I know you have also had to do this in your photography business, realtor trying to just market online, they don't necessarily want to market and target nationwide. Typically, they want to focus on their town that they're working in. How do you suggest that they focus that for to get their clients in that area?
Well, social media is really, really smart. So the good thing about social media is like we used to rely on like hashtags and things like that. Now we can really target location through keywording is so, so important when it comes to social media. If you are putting in your reel or your captions, for me, I'm in the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So if you're putting Mississippi Gulf Coast house, how to
Mm-hmm.
buy a home in the Mississippi Gulf Coast when you're, moving with the military because we're a military community.
Yeah.
That's automatically going to show to people that are searching Mississippi Gulf Coast
Mm-hmm.
schools.
Yeah.
So it's automatically going to put your
Mm-hmm.
social media post or whatever it is that you have out there in front of those people that are already interested in the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So, that keywording is so, so important. Um, I also would definitely be involved in Facebook groups and things like that. Posting in those types of groups are so important. If you rely on Google at all for marketing, Google Ads is great for reaching your ideal clients. But if you're looking for more of a raw and organic, I would definitely really hone in on your keywording. And
Mm-hmm.
that's so important to understand is what keywordings you need to reach your ideal clients. And that's why the course I'm creating really goes into depth of how to create posts and keyword it for your ideal clients and how to do that. So because that's not something that we obviously are taught in business, and that is like one thing about social media is it's constantly evolving and changing, and we don't realize a lot of people still use hashtags to try and reach their ideal clients, but that just doesn't work anymore. So
Okay. No, that's very good information.
when it comes to hashtags, it's more so letting the algorithm know what your post is about. It's more so if you're posting about a tip on how to prep your house for showing, you would hashtag it something based off of realtor tips, things like that. So it's more of a category versus in depth of what it is. So that's the way I always say hashtags are more of like categorizing your video, and then keywording is really honing in on who it is that you're trying to get in front of.
Okay. So I've heard a lot of different things. Would you say that, connecting with people on a personal level, that making posts that are personal or consistently putting personal things in your story is more important?
I think that personal branding there is a spectrum when it comes to personal branding. You want to be able to decide for you, what is it that I want to connect with my clients on a personal level, and what do I not want to? So how personal you want to be with your personal branding is really up to you, and how you want to do that is up to you as well. But for me, I'm very personal with my clients in both posts and my stories. I feel like my stories really do kind of take them along the journey of my day. A lot of the times it gives them a little bit more of an insight of what I'm doing and who I am, and that's where I really post things like me being at the ballpark with my kids, or me being on a podcast with you, things like that. And then my reels and my pictures, I'm connecting with them on a personal level that's a little bit deeper. So being able to post a video of me being a mom in business who's really stretched thin, and my balance is just so off right now between my work's in really good flow, but my personal life isn't. I'll post a longer form video about that and go into depth in the keywording and my caption, and really connect with them on a deeper level through storytelling. Versus my story, they're just kind of saying, oh, I'm a mom and I run a business. So
Yeah.
I would say there's definitely ways to do it in both, but how you want to relay that is really up to you, and there's no wrong way of doing it. If you wanted to be a personal brand that only talks about being a realtor, but like the insight of being a realtor and how hard it is to run a business, and how you have all of these different hats you have to do, that's perfectly fine. You never have to talk about your personal life, but you're still creating a personal brand, if that makes sense.
It definitely does. Is there anything else that you want to say, give advice to realtors with any of this?
I would just say investing in your personal brand is definitely the number one step I would give anybody that is starting a business, especially realtors, because you are doing such an intimate service for people. Like you said, this is the biggest investment that most people make. So being able to invest in your branding and relaying that into your mission as far as what it is, what is your purpose of wanting to be a realtor to begin with? Investing in that personal branding and really understanding that part of the business is going to be key for you. So if you can do that, that's literally the most valuable asset you could have. Because at that point, if you decided you wanted to be a realtor or start a podcast or do both, you have a personal brand. So you can literally do whatever you want.
Definitely. And for these courses that you're building, where can people find them if they want to purchase one of your courses?
So right now my courses are still in the making, but I am about to host my first free masterclass on teaching these strategies, and that will be coming up in December. I don't have a solidified date yet, but if they want to get on the list, they can head over to my Instagram, Cheyenne Studios, and you will be able to find free resources for content planner that they'll be able to download, and it'll get them on that list to be able to be the first to know about getting on that free masterclass, and then the first to know when the course is launched.
Okay.
The courses are coming in 2025, though.
Okay. Any of that information, if you want to send it to me, I can link it in the show notes below so people can easily find it. But
Perfect.
thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise today. You've given us so much to think about. And I know our listeners are going to walk away inspired to elevate their brand and social media strategies. So, for those of you tuning in, if you're ready to take your real estate business to the next level, don't forget to check out my upcoming workshop, The Creative Agent Success Plan, and make sure to connect with Cheyenne. Her work is truly incredible, and her courses on social media strategy are going to be a game changer. Until next time, remember your brand is one of the most valuable assets in your business. Take the time to invest in it, nurture it, and let it shine. See you next week.